What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Well, it's arrived. The second half of the first ever Pokémon DLC has finally been released, giving us a fuller picture of what the game now looks like. But the main question on everyone's mind, whether they've yet to buy the DLC, or perhaps most especially if they did, is the Crown Tundra really worth it? Well, let's find out. To start off, the latest trailer that dropped not that long ago was generally underwhelming, with people saying, "Is that all?" Well, the answer there was no. They have been a lot better about not having spoilers ruin any and all surprises like with Alola, so much of the story with the Crown Tundra was not on display. In fact, I don't know how much of it I can even get away with showing here, but I wouldn't want to spoil it for people who are on the fence anyway. I will say, I was right from the beginning to be more excited for the Crown Tundra over the Isle of Armor. The story here seems massive compared to the Isle, where it seems that all you could do there was get Kubfu and then do some max raid battles over and over and over again. Obviously, the story of the Crown Tundra is tied heavily to legendary Pokémon. But it's not just new ones, because there are also story beats for past legendaries, like the Musketeers from the Unova region, which I figured they would have just chucked into the Max Adventure Den or whatever it's called. I would just quickly like to say that much like the idea of max raid battles as a whole, this multi-Dynamax adventure ring is an interesting idea that has poor execution. They specifically recommend doing it solo your first time, which I always do anyway, because who can take the time to arrange for more than that? But you only get 4 knockouts total? Why does it all count as one big battle? It makes no sense, and I shouldn't have to be penalized for being stuck with a teammate that constantly spams Rage Powder Butterfree and dies 3 times before we even reach the legendary at the end. There's no way I would even have a chance. I've not done this feature too much yet, but I believe it will be the most tedious way of collecting legendaries to date. But what's wrong with the soaring or the ultra wormholes, huh? But after you're introduced to that, you get pretty chummy with a former gym leader of the region. Just to add another reason to put stock in my series about missing gym leaders, because they are out there. But he will provide you with clues to a bunch of legendary Pokémon scattered throughout the tundra. Now, I guess it is worth noting that I'm not a huge fan of the map for the tundra overall. I really like exploring it, but it seems far too linear. It's like a big Z. Or more accurately, I guess it's like a big 4. But you have to go through certain areas to get to the rest. But for the relative lack of story in the Isle of Armor, I will say there's no shortage of ways to snake your way around the island, and it never really takes that long to get from one place to the next. So I wish that openness had carried over to the Crown Tundra, instead of having to fly back to different points all the time, since it would take forever to walk all the way. Now luckily in the Tundra, you can fly to certain legendary-related spots once you've been there before. I particularly like the temples for the Regis that come with their own clues as to how to open them, which I won't give away how, but some of them are a little more obvious than others. Or it just outright tells you that each of the legendary birds flee to other locations, the Wild Area, the Isle of Armor, or the Crown Tundra, which I thought was a really nice touch that helped to tie all of these places together and refer back to the older parts of your journey. But the legendaries that aren't behind gratuitous Dynamax grinding are really pretty interesting. I actually really like Regieleki as a new legendary. I think it's a great fit into the rest of the elemental golems. Regidrago was a little more out there, but I was actually kind of surprised that you're forced to choose between them. And there's actually another choice that you have to make regarding new Pokémon that they never even told us would be here. So you gotta make some much tougher decisions than just what form of Urshifu you want. I also really like Calyrex too. I liked it even before the release, but having gone through its story and learning how it became so isolated and lonely really made me empathize for this Triforce kangaroo thing. And it makes it all the more inspiring when you journey to help it restore its glory. But honestly, I've never been one who's big on using the legendaries after I get them, but I gotta say, having Calyrex and Regieleki follow me around this frozen wonderland was a joy to see, and I was truly thrilled at the power that it portrayed. But it seems like there are even more legends available here than we even knew about, since I didn't even really think about the Ultra Beasts, but it seems to be on the table too, since apparently a rogue Cosmog found its way here, also implying that's how so many other legendaries started appearing in the first place. And for all of the people that are too stuck up to recognize that mythicals are legendaries, they're including Keldeo in this game as well. So ha! This is the first mythical that you can catch in-game since Deoxys was an Oros. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of putting Pokemon behind a paywall, like with Mew inside the Pokeball Plus. I don't even have the paid version of Pokemon Home. But truthfully, paying for the Crown Tundra might be worth the price for some people just to have Keldeo alone. In fact, there's so much to do that I've not even really tried to collect much of the returning common Pokemon, even though they're just walking around all over the place, when I was incredibly motivated to do so in the Isle of Armor, since that was about the only thing you could do besides max raids, which I haven't done here much either. And I just realized that I don't even have Galarian Slowking yet. I do know how to get it though. But I gotta say, I love how there are a bunch of fossil Pokemon walking around here too. It just makes it seem that much more epic, and that there's truly something special to this land. Now, one thing that they did announce was the Star Tournament that you could partake in back in Winden. And truthfully, this was the part I was looking forward to the least, since we already had a tournament of leaders in this very game. But I gotta say, after playing it, I did enjoy this part as well. I guess working with a partner does make it different enough to some, but just the fact that I, as the champion, went away and then came back to show off a giant Calyrex in the stadium that no one had ever seen before, and then having Regieleki zipping around? That was truly some champion material right there. I felt like Tobias from the anime, wowing the audience with never-before-seen legendary Pokemon. I don't know how much more mileage I'll get out of that tournament, but it wasn't the drag that I figured it would be. Again, that was the Dynamax Adventure Labyrinth. So, the main question, is the Crown Tundra worth it? Well, as we know, the DLC comes in 2 parts, but they are purchased together. So if you get one, you get the other. Which doesn't matter much for this one, but saves the former in my opinion. Since if the Isle of Armor were sold separately, I don't know how many would buy it. Before, when it was just the Isle of Armor, I don't know if I could have recommended the DLC, since it seemed to focus mostly on quality of life tweaks. But now I would say it probably is worth getting. If nothing else, just for the Crown Tundra. It actually adds a significant amount of story to the existing game, and the opportunity to reclaim all those legends that you haven't transferred up yet. The fact that the Isle of Armor is included with it is just a bonus, I guess. Now, I'm not gonna say that you have to go out and spend money on this to be a true Pokemon fan or anything. Buying a Switch and a $60 game is already a big investment. But if you're the type of person who bought Ultra Sun and Moon the day it came out, well, then you've probably already bought the DLC anyway. But if you're on the fence, I'll just say that the $30 price tag surely isn't that bad, and is actually cheaper than the Ultra games would have been. And true, it's not a whole new game, but the experiences that are found in the expansion pass are the perfect way to scratch that Pokemon itch until a new game comes out. And honestly, I would say is maybe more worthwhile than the base game. But unfortunately, you can't get just the expansion pass without the main game. Maybe you'll even want to get the new bundled version that has the DLC already included in the regular game. I assume there will be a comparable price hike to reflect the additional content, but it's up to you on whether or not you wish to experience these additional luxuries within the Galar region. I don't even know what to think at this point about what might come next, or if Generation 8 might already be over. But if you've been undecided on whether or not to get the expansion pass with access to the Isle of Armor, but mainly the Crown Tundra, I would say why not go ahead and try it out. Now, whether or not you think this content should have been in the game to begin with and don't want to support these predatory business practices is a whole other discussion. What are your impressions of the Crown Tundra? Are you thinking of getting it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!